company around the world. Wonderful to have Team Talk's favourite, Darren Lewis, in the hot seat. And for the first time this season, Glenn Murray. Glenn, anything exciting this week?
No, not particularly, Jules. Anything your end?
Well, Darren, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Well, over the weekend, we got so much to choose from, haven't we? Dish of the day on Sunday, Chelsea against Arsenal. The hors d'oeuvre in the morning, West Ham against Liverpool.
Yeah.
And maybe the secret, the chef surprise, if you like, is Crystal Palace against Manchester United.
I really thought you were going to tell us about some hot new restaurant you're rushing off to after this, because you always are. Now the viewers know that as well. Instead, you're talking about what's on the menu in terms of the Premier League. Well, let's get straight into it, why don't we? The headline act this weekend is a top-of-the-table clash and a London derby. Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Will leaders Arsenal further cement their status as title favourites, or can second-place Chelsea throw a spanner in the works?
West London and North London collide.
Teams still winning.
Oh, can you believe it?
Look at the clock. You know, teams still race to the top.
Yes, the end! The most contested London derby.
Bridges burn, tables turn, highs and lows, gotta figure it out.
Blue top paper lit. The Gunners drag it back again.
Teams still winning. How can I flop?
Hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. Problems upon problems. Wenger and Mourinho are going at it on the touchline. Is that not beautiful goal? Red card for the former Blue.
Teams still winning. How can I flop?
Chelsea fights back.
You know, teams still race to the top.
Staggering, simply staggering game. Football never ceases to amaze you. Chelsea against Arsenal.
What a game we have in prospect, and Darren, suddenly a top-of-the-table clash.
Absolutely. And on the one hand, it's hard to call because obviously Chelsea, off the back of a fantastic win over Barcelona, I really didn't expect them to win as emphatically as they did. Very impressive. And the clean sheet, all important as well. That means that's, four clean sheets in their last 5 matches. Very impressive for a side that I thought had defensive problems. But Arsenal, I mean, they're the defensive supreme master so far this season. They are so hard to score against, and I actually think this game will be decided by both defences. There's a mistake in the Chelsea one in every game they play, despite the run that they're on at the moment. If you take out Barcelona, the other clean sheets are against an unconvincing Spurs side, Burnley, who are struggling at the bottom of the table, and Wolves as well, who are struggling at the bottom of the table. If you were a striker, and thankfully we have one here, which defence would you worry most about coming up against?
Yeah, I think you make a very valid point there. Arsenal's, but there is a chink in the armour as well, with Gabriel not being there. So even though Hincapie's stepped in and he's been very impressive, there still is a slight weakness.
You'd still see that as if you were preparing to play in this game this weekend, because I thought Hincapie looked really composed and quite good, and also they all defend against Spurs.
Yeah, no, but.
Well, no, Bayern Munich.
They didn't have much attacking prowess.
No, it was Mosquera.
Mosquera against Bayern Munich, yes. So they've got 2 players who can go in against...
When we talk about Arsenal's defence, obviously it's the famous duo that we talk about, and when that's broken, there's got to be a slight weakness and a slight downturn. Even though we've not seen it yet, it's about managing that situation as far as Arsenal are concerned. And listen, for me, this game is set up for a bit of creativity, something special to happen. And I agree with what you say, that Chelsea are probably slightly weaker in defence, but then they've got Caicedo in front protecting that space. But I just feel as though this game is set up for a certain man to come on and reintroduce himself to the Premier League. You know which man I'm talking about, don't you?
Palmer.
Yes.
Well, I have a question from a striker's point of view in Chelsea, because they didn't really play with the recognised 9 against Barcelona. We were kind of seeing the team sheet and wondering, well, who's going there? Esteva was excellent, but Pedro Neto through the middle and up top as part of that front 3 with Garnacho, that was quite interesting. Was that something you expected? Is it somehow a place that he could be taking up more regularly now?
It wasn't something I expected, but tactically it made sense because Barcelona play with such a high line when you're going into this game against Arsenal at the weekend, I think it's a very different profile needed, because someone like Neto, I feel, could be bullied. I think we've seen that with Richarlison last weekend, didn't we? Richarlison was very lonely at times, and when you are that mantle and you are that kind of foundation to get your team further up the field, ultimately he didn't hold the ball well enough, did he, on Sunday? So I can honestly see Liam Delap playing this game. A bit of physical presence just to kind of release that pressure, because no doubt Arsenal are going to play well and dominate the game at stages. So you need someone to go long to, and for me, that man's Delap.
So you think that he's the sort of player, like, you want him to have his back to goal, take the ball on his chest, keep the ball, retain, so that if you've got players running off him,
then you can get people out, and because obviously, like I said, Arsenal are going to be in the ascendancy at times, and with their creative players, they're going to be dominant. They're going to pin you in. And sometimes you just need a release valve, and hopefully for Chelsea, that can be Delap. And when you hold that ball up, then you can get Neto with you, João Pedro with you, or whoever he decides to play. Obviously, you've got options, and when they're going forward, they're really exciting.
Let's talk about the midfield battle, because there is quite an exciting one about to go down here. Moisés Caicedo, who was able to be rested against Burnley, because obviously he travelled back so late from international duty. He did feature against Barcelona, expecting him to play against Arsenal, and then against Declan Rice as well in that midfield, who was the outstanding player in midweek against Bayern Munich. That is a scintillating battle to look forward to.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal deal with him, because do they try to cancel him out with a Rice or even a Zubimendi, who both of whom are very disciplined in the centre of the park? Or do they say, listen, let them worry about us and play around him, then play down the channels? They've got very accomplished wingers who can score from the wide areas or provide the ammunition from the wide areas. So it does remain to be seen. Given the game is at Stamford Bridge, I would imagine they'll probably look to contain the likes of Caicedo and play around him. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely one man they're trying to stop, and like you say, that is a possibility, whether it's Rice or Zubimendi. But him in his part, that last clip there is so special, isn't it? The way he hunts that ball down, and honestly, in those situations, he's so quick and so dominant. For me, he went there with a lot of hype from Brighton, a lot of expectation to step up. Obviously, the price tag came into consideration, and I feel now we're really starting to see the real Moisés Caicedo and how good he can be. And I still think there's potential and growth left in him. And I think on those clips as well, we've seen him getting further forward, and he's more efficient, whereas we know him as that kind of deep line protector.
Yep.
I think he's adding elements to his game as well.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Cole Palmer earlier as well. I want to move on to him, because Enzo Maresca was speaking about the prospect and likelihood of Cole Palmer and Estevao playing together.
No, they can play together. They can play together. Depends, against which team, depends a little bit the game plan. But for sure, they are excited. The fans, they are excited to watch both together. We also are excited, thinking that at the end we need always balance between the two faces.
Yeah, there was a funny moment at Stamford Bridge. Cole Palmer was, obviously they showed him, he was sitting on the bench there. And then when Cucurella was given player of the match, Palmer was standing pitchside and was like, how did you win this? Because I think a lot of people thought Estevao was the outstanding player. Very, very exciting prospect. And I think exciting for a lot of people that he chose to come to the Premier League.
Yeah, super exciting. Listen, I covered Brazil in the international break as well, and I saw him there, and he is their next big star. There's a lot of hope on his shoulders going into the next World Cup, and that comes from his time at Chelsea, what he produces in the Premier League, and it's there for Carlo Ancelotti to see. And for me, yeah, as an ex-forward player, when Maresca's asked that question, I think it could be beautiful watching those two together.
I think it'd be a wow. Well, you schooled me before the show, because I was saying to you, look, I don't know if you can start Palmer in a game against Arsenal, formidable Arsenal, after 2 months out. And you told me a really interesting story.
Yes, I did, yeah. So I was recovering from an ACL injury. I've been out for 10 months, and Tony Pulis thought it'd be a really good idea to start me in my first Premier League game against Manchester United. And their partnership at the back then was Vidic and Ferdinand. So it was a rather long afternoon, to be honest.
Get a kick.
Wow, how did that go? How did that go for you?
Well, I try and forget about it, to be honest, Joe.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I know I didn't score, we didn't win, but I can't remember what score the game was.
But the interesting thing is, I actually agree with Glenn. I think it's a big ask to start Cole Palmer from the start. And I think in English football culture, what we like to do is, if there are really good players, we want to shoehorn them all into the same side. But I think the system that beat Barcelona, and bear in mind, Barcelona's form fantastic so far this season. They're in a two-horse race with Real Madrid for the Spanish title. The attacking trident of Rafinha and Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, and Chelsea kept them quiet.
Yeah.
I think the system they've got so far works, and maybe we could see Palmer in the 65th, 70th minute. He's coming back from injury. You have to be fair to him and not expect too much too soon. Esteval, some people are calling him, he's more than capable of minding the store by himself, I think.
Yeah. Esteval, if anyone forgot that you're a print headline man, there's the proof. It's in the pudding. Esteval.
I'm available for bar mitzvahs and weddings as well.
Just make sure it's on silent for now, because it's going to be ringing off the hook worldwide. Okay, speaking of players coming back from injury, very similar situation at Arsenal, because Eberechi Eze was sensational in that North London derby, which I won't remind you of your predictions. Actually, we've clipped that up. No, I'm kidding. Eberechi Eze was amazing, scored that hat-trick, but now there is an opportunity for Martin Odegaard to start. What do you do if you're making
Eze or Eberechi easy, as lots of people been saying. Why would you drop someone who has had such an outstanding impact on the team, on the fan base, on the momentum that Arsenal are trying to generate? Listen, I defer to Glenn because he would be able to tell you far more about why it would be important to have that stability. But I don't see why, even if Odegaard might be the superior player, the senior player, I think exactly.
Superior.
So, but some people would see him as superior. Eze right now, he's the man with the possession 9/10 of the law.
For me, Eze is everything Arsenal are. I think he is the community of Arsenal on the pitch. I think he encapsulates like the feeling in and around the football club. You can see what it means to him in playing. He plays with the passion that a fan would play with. I had no doubt after watching him a lot at Crystal Palace that he would step into this Arsenal team and take it by storm. Listen, it's been pretty gradual. It's been slow at times, but that was an announcement last Sunday. And honestly, I think he could leave the football club as an icon.
Wow. This is a big opportunity for them. They've not won the Premier League in many, many years, decades, in fact. They've had moments where they've led the Premier League and they've not been able to see it through. Let's take a look at some of their fixtures that are coming up, because, you know, once they play Chelsea, they've played most of the sides in the top half of the table, certainly. And this is confirmation of what's coming up. I mean, mentally, Darren, that's also part of the fight. You know, they've got this big game against Chelsea coming up. They had a big game in midweek. They had a big game on Sunday. But mentally, this is a battle for them as well.
It is, because the feeling a lot of people would have looking at this fixture list is that these are all winnable games. And I think in title races, that's where Arsenal have slipped up in the past. Not necessarily against the biggest teams. It's against the smaller clubs. And I think, for example, Crystal Palace is a potential banana skin. Everton would be in the top 7 on defensive record, for example. They've only conceded 13 goals so far this season. Brighton, as Glenn will tell you, very, very creative, free scoring. Aston Villa, one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, joint third, having conceded only 11 goals so far. These are all tough games.
They've got 8 games in 27 days. That's like a game every 3.5 days. That's a tough ask for any group, especially against the quality they're coming against. There might not be the names that we kind of consider being a difficult game for Arsenal, but I think any Premier League opposition, and this is really where we're going to see how they manage being top of the league, because obviously they've got history of blowing it, but also their squad depth. What we've lauded them for in the summer of by kind of getting better.
Well, this was going to be my question. The main difference between this season and seasons past is that there seems to be cover and quality cover in almost every position, double up sometimes. And that seems to be the difference. I'm thinking about the game in midweek where, for example, Trossard went off, Madueke came on, Madueke switched flanks when Martinelli came on. They both scored then.
Well, Calafiori came on for Miles Lewis-Skenny and set up the goal for Madueke straight away. And look, there were 1 or 2 players in that squad that lots of people were quite underwhelmed blown by when they arrived in the summer. And then suddenly there was that terrific vindication of the policy, the transfer policy, when in the Liverpool game, Saliba wasn't available and Mosquera came in and was outstanding. Havertz wasn't available, but Eze was able to play. There are so many options now for Mikel Arteta. There's a different kind of pressure because people are saying now they've got no excuses. But I think they should lean into that pressure because you would rather have it. It's a privilege, right?
Yes, it is, yeah. And I honestly think that this is their season from this point on. I think Saturday's huge. If they get over the line against Chelsea, then that could be massive. I think it sends a message out to the Premier League. And also, I look around them and I wonder who can muster a challenge. They look so strong.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, we're going to stick...
So welcome to the second half of Premier League Friday. We're going to be talking Manchester United, Crystal Palace and Newcastle shortly. First, though, to probably the most highly anticipated Super Sunday matches of the season. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal, second versus first. And it's Caicedo versus Rice.
Really good covering from Moisés Caicedo. That was a crucial clearance. Caicedo coming back. What about this? Jacob Murphy started in his own penalty area. Tracked back by Declan Rice. Rice trying to catch the headlines here at Anfield.
Oh, Van der Ven. Caicedo went through him. Big chance for João Pedro. And Chelsea have the lead.
Declan Rice, flick on header's brilliant and it's in! Arsenal score!
And they've got it. And how? From Caicedo, what a thumper.
Ariola gets a hand to it, in from Rice. He was never going to be far from the centre of this story.
Caicedo in range now and whacks it into the top corner in properly fulminating fashion, and boy did he hit it.
Arsenal's rushing forward, Burnley rushing back, and Declan Rice is there to head it home. Arsenal are sitting pretty on top of the Premier League.
That is a mouth-watering battle for sure. But who has the edge? Is it Caicedo or is it Rice? That was the question I asked our resident Tactico Pythagoras in Boots, who's been crunching the numbers.
Declan Rice versus Moisés Caicedo. Who's the better 6? Who's the better 8? Who's the one you'd rather build your midfield around? Declan Rice has more influence in the final third. Arsenal's 4-3-3 has him as a box-to-box midfielder. He's not a sitting midfielder, so that gives him that freedom to get forward and join in the opposition box, play more passes into the box and generate more assists for his team. In stark contrast, Caicedo operates deeper in Chelsea's 4-2-3-1. He is the heartbeat of the team. He's the player that's the pivot. The whole build-up revolves around him. And I think what he has that Rice doesn't is this ability to be very press-resistant in deeper areas, wriggle out under pressure and then find those forward passes. Whereas I think Rice needs someone like Zubimendi to hold his hand in the deeper lying phases of the game. In terms of carrying the ball, Rice dominates. He carries the ball more often. He's got the legs to really drive through midfield, burst past people and run through the heart of the opposition. Caicedo, on the other hand, is arguably more press resistant in tight areas, but in terms of running over larger distances and really hurting opposition with his runs, I wouldn't say he's got the same freedom to do it from a tactical perspective, but I just don't think he's got the same level of capacity in terms of his running power compared to a Declan Rice. In terms of goal threat, it's fair to say that Declan Rice, because he operates high up the pitch, is just generally going to generate more shots on goal and probably more goals over the long term. That said, Caicedo, for me, in terms of his long distance shooting, is arguably one of the most promising players in world football. Defensively, Caicedo's numbers are simply monstrous. He produces more recoveries, double the amount of interceptions, more tackles. He's got more ground to cover from a defensive perspective. Declan Rice does dominate him aerially. He's taller, he's stronger. He wins almost 70% of his aerial duels. One thing I would say though is I trust Declan Rice more from a one-on-one perspective. He's got the athletic profile to mark anyone out of the game. I think Caicedo sometimes does lack in terms of his discipline. He's probably better on the front foot winning the ball, but in terms of his one-on-one defending, he can be got at, he can be dribbled past. From a work rate point of view, it's actually interesting to note that Declan Rice covers more kilometres despite covering less of the pitch. So he's working with more intensity in a smaller zone, whereas Caicedo has to obviously operate over a larger area of the pitch, but actually covers less kilometres. In conclusion, if you want a complete midfielder at the base of your midfield who doesn't really need his handheld from a build-up perspective, that player is Moisés Caicedo. On the other hand, if you want someone who's physically dominant, someone that can break through opposition lines, and he's also more of a set-piece threat, that player is Declan Rice. So ultimately, it's not about who's better, it's about who you want to build your midfield around. Caicedo is the system, whereas Rice is thriving inside one.
Very good. Big thanks to Pythagoras for that. Has what he said changed your mind? Remember, we want you to get involved in this. We are asking you, who would you rather have in your team? Right, Declan Rice or Moisés Caicedo? To vote, simply scan the QR code on the screen right now. We're going to bring you the result before the end of the show. Of course, Roberto Di Matteo and Alan Pardew with us tonight. Got to bring that question to you guys. I'll make it easier now, Roberto. Are these two the best midfielders in the Premier League right now?
Arguably, yes. I think there are some others as well. I very much like Guimaraes at Newcastle. Yep. Rodri at City. Of course. So there are some others as well. But yes, probably the most dominant two players right now are those two.
And how much, Alan, have you seen Rice's level kind of rise? Because he was putting in, we spoke about this earlier, he was putting in those consistent levels at West Ham, but it seems to have gone up a gear.
Well, for a lot of his career, he was involved in set plays because he's a big guy. But obviously, taking them was better. I mean, his delivery at set plays sets him apart, in my opinion, in this challenge, because his deliveries are absolutely off the scale.
Can you believe it? He never took corners at West Ham. He only started getting into taking set pieces from January last year.
You'd put him in the box. Yeah. He's aggressive. So, you're taking out a massive asset. Luckily, Arsenal got about 8 guys who are 6'3", so he can take the... I mean, when I've watched him, not just the pace he puts on the ball, the accuracy. When you get a set play and the timing of your runs and everything, you've got to be so consistent with your accuracy, and he is so good at that. He never seems to miss the target area. So that, for me, just puts him above Caicedo at this time. So you know where my vote's going.
Yeah, I know yours going, yeah.
I also think, when you look at those stats, and Roberto be the first to tell you this, they don't tell you about the personality of the character. Now, we both haven't worked with those two guys, and what they're like in the dressing room, that would play a factor as well. Yeah. They both look sound citizens, and of course they must be to be at the levels they're at, but that would be a deciding factor too.
It's interesting to hear. Roberto, so many Chelsea fans have been crying out for that replacement for N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo Kante.
Exactly. Do you see
Chelsea in their history always had a really good number 6 over the years, the winning titles teams, but generally there's always been a good number 6 there. I love Caicedo, so my vote is going to go to him. To Moisés, I love you too, Declan, but
that's good. We got a split.
I've watched Caicedo a little bit more, so I thought he was world class against Spurs.
Yeah,
away.
Yeah, he was.
He was world class there.
What about Makelele and him? Who would
Claude. Yeah, he's a cheeky little one. I mean, they're top. I mean, Claude is obviously... I would put Claude, Obi Mikel, N'Golo Kante, Michael Essien. We had Michael Essien as well.
Of course, yeah.
So there was a number of fantastic players in their position. But it's interesting what the person before said. Yeah. Caicedo is the system, and Rice thrives in the system. Yeah, I think as a number 6, Caicedo is better. Declan Rice has a bit more freedom, but he's also more as a box-to-box.
He's playing in that 8 now.
So he's more, I would say, more of a number 8. And I agree that stats are important for a manager. You look at that, but then you need to look at what kind of person he is. Is he selfish? Is he unselfish? And in that position, you have to be unselfish to be able to play that role.
I love that. It's come down to personalities. That's how close it is. No, it's good. It's come down to personalities.
And it's interesting with England because, is Rice going to play the number 6, or maybe Anderson at Forest will play that role, and then where does Bellingham fit in, etc., Carl Palmer. So it's a difficult one.